start on time. Just like I'm Lucy Martin, I'm the Story County Auditor and Commissioner of Elections, and that also holds true for elections. Everything starts on time, whether you're ready or not. So here we go. Welcome to Soup Supper. It's great to see a whole room full of people here eating soup, especially if you were here last year when you didn't get Maddie's email until after you'd driven here in the snow, and there were about 16 of us. But there still was soup and food, so that was kind of fun. This is a lot more fun though. I'm going to introduce a few people in the room. If I introduced everybody that did something for the party, it would probably be everyone here, and we'd be here all night. But so we're going to stick to current elected officials, candidates, and our elected officials who have been lucky enough to retire. So let's start with some candidates. We have Penny Vossler, who's running for House 48. We have Margaret Liston, who is running for Senate 24. Ryan Condon for House 51. I'm on the ballot, so look for me on your primary and general election ballot. I hope I'm not going to pick up a primary challenger. So, joining me at the county level this year are Latifa Faisal for supervisor, Red Hat, we like to call her, and Sheriff Paul Fitzgerald, who could not be here tonight. I think he's out of town. So. Also here for the county is Supervisor Linda Merkin and Supervisor Lisa Heddens, also a former House representative. So she gets two things shout out there. Running for re-election is Beth Wessel-Crochelle for House 49. Also on your ballot is Ross Wilburn if you live in House District 50. And Senator Cornbach gets a pass this year because he lives in an odd number district, and only the even number Senate districts are on the ballot this year. So, a couple of retired, we have former Iowa Senator Ralph Rosenberg is here. I saw my neighbor and former colleague, retired County Supervisor Jane Halliburton is in the house. Former Ames Mayor Ann Campbell's here. And former City Council member from Ames, Daryl Veggie. And then for some important jobs that are also, like Selden Spencer is one of our soil and water commissioners. And then John Clow is a township clerk. So if you live in the great township, he's on your ballot. So did I forget anybody? Who? Oh, sorry. He's so important I forgot about him because he's not on the ballot. It's Tim Meals. He's really tall too, so sorry about that, Tim. I'm trying to read my. We got school board members. Is that Kelly Winfrey? Is that? Oh, sorry. Okay. Okay. So thank you. Yeah. I'm sorry. Anybody else? Raise your hand, and I'll see if I can see you with these glasses, but maybe not. So, I'm gonna fill some time with some more announcements. Just if you did go to caucus, thank you, but it was bitterly cold, so if you didn't go, I totally understand. We have a sitting president, and it was all encompassed there at the high school. But we do need some more central committee members, so if you're interested in that, if you'd like to go to meetings and hang out with some cool people, you can also do that by Zoom. I encourage you to sign up for that. So with that, I'm going to introduce for Iowa Senate District 26 is Mike Wolfe. He's going to come up here. He lives in rural Maxwell, which if you're the county auditor, you're just saying, oh, you mean Indian Creek Township? So, and he's also also, I want to get a tour because I hear he keeps bees, and I'm hoping I can get some honey to help me with my local allergies. So, welcome, Mike, and we're looking forward to hearing from you.
Hello. Hello. Thank you all so much for coming out tonight. It is great to speak to a really full room. I was in Marshall High School for caucus night, and initially I was really excited as I pulled into the parking lot because it was just jam-packed, absolutely full. And then I walked into the front doors and realized, well, this was where the Republican caucus was as well. I was like, oh, well, this isn't quite the crowd that I was hoping to meet and talk to. Luckily, I was able to find the Marshall County people and was glad to meet all of them. And I'm glad to meet all of you tonight. So, as Lucy said, I live in rural Story County. I've lived there for 13 years on our acreage. We've raised my 3 kids there. I've got 2 of them off to college and 1 more on the way. And, I'm really proud of my family. I'm proud of the farm that we've built. I'm proud to be an Iowan. And last year, during the legislative session, my pride in Iowa really took a hit. I really felt like last year's legislative session was just an exercise in mean-spiritedness. And it bothered me enough that I went to the Capitol building during session and I filled out my little card with my name on it and gave it to the clerk, and they took it back in to Dave Dio. And he didn't come out. So I went up into the gallery. I wonder if he's here. And you can go up in the gallery and you can look down in the seats, and there he is, writing notes and passing them back and forth with his clerk. And it's like, okay, so I guess I'm not that important to him. A little while later, I also put in a card for Jeff Edler. He didn't come out either. And suddenly I see Dave Dio come out, and he's like, is there a guy here? I'm like, I'm a guy. So I was able to finally pigeonhole him and get him to talk. And I rarely felt so unheard when I'm actually speaking to a person. So that's why I got angry enough to run. Because it's not just the mean-spiritedness across the board. It doesn't matter when you go speak to them. That's not how it's supposed to be. So the mean-spiritedness that I hope to be able to counteract is that public education should be public. And not only were they taking money from our rural public schools last year, they're doubling down and trying to make it worse for more kids this year. It's the wrong way to go to build Iowa. I also feel like public money should be kept safe and well spent and watched over so that the public auditor ought to be able to look at money across the state and see how it's spent and not have agencies have to volunteer. And I feel like in a state with the motto that Iowa has, taking away people's personal freedom to go to the doctor and get their health care, or to take their kids to the doctor and get health care, is the wrong thing to do. We should have our own rights, we should have our own freedoms, and no one at the State House has any business in our doctor's offices. Yes. And I also feel like the Republicans know that their policies are wrong. They know they're wrong. One of the things that demonstrated that their policies are wrong is that the employment situation in Iowa is so bad that they had to roll back child labor laws so that they could keep businesses from fleeing the state. So I want my kids to grow up in Iowa. I want my kids to live in Iowa. I don't want to have to go out of state to go see my grandkids. And if we're going to build in Iowa where my kids can build a life, we need some change and we need it now. So I really ask for your support in that. Either your support tonight for the Democrats that are in your elected districts, or if you're in mine, then the support for your vote for me for Senate 26. If you're not in my district and can't vote for me, that's fine. You're still important. You can still help. I brought some sign-up sheets. I'm looking for volunteers. This is a big job, and I'm going to need help from a lot of good people. And if you have the time and would like to volunteer, please do come see me afterwards, and we can sign you up to do something. And then if volunteering isn't your thing, but you still want to help, cash contributions are also helpful. So thank you so much for your time. I really want to thank you for coming out. I thank you for your support for myself and for all the Democrats that are here tonight. And I look forward to the change in direction as we all go in the right way. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mike. As you said, cash donations are always helpful. I think most of us can be found on ActBlue. My personal account is Elect Lucy Martin if you want to write me a check. So that's always helpful. I will say that the district that Mike is running for is an open seat, as is House District 51, which is part of that, and I believe House District 48. Anytime there's an open seat, that's a chance, the best chance ever for us to pick up a seat. So really help candidates. I'm not sure about Senate 24. I'm trying, but an open seat is an open chance for all of us. So our next speaker is Vanessa Burnett. Vanessa heads up a not-for-profit called Shift the Country, which she's going to talk to us about. And we're also going to have our hat pass, speaking of cash donations. I'm going to start these two baskets off here. And then Latifa has one. I think we have Captain Nick Linney has another one. We got some up here if any elected official wants to come up and grab one and help out, or anyone. Latifa's coming around. So with that, I'm going to let us talk to Vanessa. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. I'm glad to see so many people out tonight and at a fundraiser, so this is very cool. And I'm going to be talking about a nonprofit called Shift the Country. I like that Mike ended his with making change, that we're changing the direction. That totally fits, because we're planning to shift the country. So this is, you're passing the hat for raising money for Story County. That money stays locally, which is important. It helps local candidates. So I'm really happy we're doing this. It is not for our nonprofit. So I'm Vanessa Burnett. I'm originally from Nevada. I live in Ames now. So I'll talk more about that in a second. Are you worried about this country? Who's worried about the country? Okay, I'm in the right place. Do you think enough Americans are actively engaged with our government, our communities, and our politics? No. Okay, also in the right place. So how do we change that? How do we get more folks involved? Our nonprofit, Shift the Country, has some options for doing that, and they are designed to build on everything that has been done so far and take it further. So we just got funded at a very baseline, very minimal level, but we're funded through the election. So we're going to see what we can pull off, not just in Iowa, but nationwide. We're starting small, but we're going to start right here in Story County, because this is where I live. So this is what happens. Okay, first I'll tell you a little bit more about me. I am also worried about this country, and I'm all in on the United States. After 9/11, I left my career in wildland firefighting and fire management to go help with first responder policies that would help make our communities safer and more resilient and make this country stronger. I left there in about 2015, just in time to come back here to see Trump running up for the caucus. And what I was hearing from my friends in Homeland Security at the time has borne out that this is a threat domestically, and that's been borne out in the intelligence. Anyway, I'll get sidetracked if I talk about all that. But I did spend 10 years in Homeland Security, over 10 years. I left my career in wildfire to go to DC and do Homeland Security type stuff. So I came back here. Now we have this whole authoritarian MAGA movement. It's been years since this started. It's not just Trump now, it's a whole thing. It's based in hate, it's based in intolerance. So we can do better. When a society gets broken, this is how you get an authoritarian wannabe, a strong man, a fascist. And now we have more than one. We have a whole bunch. Something has gone funky in the social contract, in the democracy, in the Constitution. The way that you can fix that is we need to fight bigger than ever. It's an unprecedented threat. It's asymmetrical. I think I'm preaching to the choir when I say that. But we as a society and as a party have been a little bit frozen in shock. That's one of the designs of authoritarianism. They want us to be disconnected. They want us to feel disempowered. So we have to connect with and empower ourselves. We need to get more engaged. We need to fight with our hearts. We need to fight with our humanity. We need to fight using our most deeply held values. This is core, raw, primal stuff. We need to fight with our emotions. We usually fight with data. They say that Democrats tend to bring a briefing book to a gunfight, and it's not wrong. So we need to fight a little bit differently, and we need to get more people engaged. So our nonprofit is set up to help us collectively do that, and to help with some of the funkiness in society too. It's actually based in sociology, and here's a call out to Jan Flora, who I worked with for a while years ago. You never know when this stuff is going to come back in your life. But we can collectively build on all that's been done. Right now we have all these different organizations nationwide that are doing all these different things. We could bring them together, we could do more, we could reach further into our social networks, further into our communities, get more people fired up. So our approach is a 5-thing approach in order to do that, and it's connection, thing 1. Thing 2 is coalitions and community. We need more of those. Thing 3 is getting businesses involved, partnering or pressuring them. There's lots of economic power that we have. Thing 4 is using moral courage, vision, and values actively. That's the thing I talked about, fighting with our heart, our humanity. And thing 5 is just spinning this up everywhere, raising a ruckus, getting on the news, getting into the social networks, getting people talking. I'm from a small town. You do something, anything in a small town, and people talk about it. So we can be doing more of that. It's true in Ames too. I think Ames is a small town, but that's because I lived in the city. Okay, so overall we're pushing engagement, partnerships, and pressure to supercharge democracy. And I've got cards on the back in the sign-in table. I just put them out probably after a lot of you came in. And we're having an event. So we're going to start having a small group in Story County or Central Iowa. Start shifting the county or Central Iowa, whatever we end up doing. Anyway, so we're going to start groups all over the country. We're going to have Zoom calls as well online, and then other groups we have interest in a lot of states are going to work with us, and we're working with some national groups as well. So our event is Monday, February 26th at 7 p.m. at Stomping Grounds, or La Tosca. Anyway, there's a sign in the back on the table. It's Monday, February 26th at 7 p.m. And you can also get a card from me and ask me about it and whatever. I've got cards. So that's my pitch. Thank you for what you're doing, and thank you for giving tonight. We really need the action at the local level too. So, all right, thanks.
Thanks, Vanessa. How are those baskets? Have they gone around? Okay. I just, in addition to forgetting my great colleague Tim Meals, I also forgot to mention Treasurer Ted Rasmussen, who is running his daughter around tonight and couldn't join us, but I think he is responsible for the ice that we all enjoyed with our drinks. And if I could just say thank you to our kitchen folks that helped out. In addition to to Central Committee Chair Maddie, who I think you should not have to be carrying soup and trays around, but I saw you do that all night. We have Yvonne Fitzgerald, Mary Sue Hartung, and Jim, whose last name I'm going to... Schreibuehler? Mueller.
Easy to say, hard to spell.
I would say the other way around for me, but okay. If I could just give you a few more dates to work with. Beth Wessel-Crochelle has her annual St. Patrick's Day event, which is going to be Friday, March 15th, Morning Bell Coffee, which is on the north side of the east end of Main Street. Can you tell I work with maps? And that's from 5:30 to 7. Irish coffee and others will be available. If you want to hear me run my mouth some more, because it's been so much fun for you tonight, I'm actually giving 2 talks in the Ames Public Library about county auditor stuff. On Saturday, February 10th at 10 a.m. in the Ames Public Library, I'm speaking about voting rights. See my shoes? And then on Thursday, March 21st at 7 p.m., also the library, I'm speaking about property tax overview, which is one of my 5 main duties as well. So hope to see you there to learn more things about that. We're going to have one of our next 2 speakers. The first one is Iowa Democratic House Leader Jennifer Konfrst. She is the first woman who was the Democratic leader of the House, which is great, but also sad that it took so long to get there. She represents District 32, which is Windsor Heights, Clive, and West Des Moines. And when she's not being awesome down in Des Moines, she is a professor at Drake. So give it up for Jennifer Konfrst.
So as any faculty members in the room know, I will speak to you for 1 hour and 15 minutes, and I'll make you break into small groups and discuss how you feel about everything. Just kidding, I won't do that. I've got about 8 to 10. So thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. My name is Jennifer Konfrst. You heard about me. I teach at Drake. I have 2 kids who have left me to go be amazing adults and broke my heart, you know, and they're not moving back to Iowa. So I think we can all relate to how hard that is. I'm working like hell to make the state someplace they'll want to live again so that Ryan's kids can live here and everybody else's will stay. So we are working on that. As I go around the state and talk to folks during the school year, or during the non-session time, they want to talk big picture things. But during session, folks ask a lot of questions about what's going on at the Capitol. And some of those questions are rhetorical. No idea, friends. I don't know what to tell you. Something happens to these folks when they go across the rotunda. They become something else. But I'm so lucky to have the opportunity, and I want to thank you for sending us Representative Wessel-Crochelle and Representative Wilburn, who make my job much easier and represent you so very well at the Capitol. So thank you for that. And bring Penny and Ryan up too. It's going to be amazing. So folks ask me questions. So I've been keeping a list of the most commonly asked questions that I'm getting during session. And the biggest one is, how do you do it? And that's going to be last. But I will tell you that first and foremost, I've been asked what's going on with the AEA bill at the Capitol. As you all know, area education agencies are critical resources to help students and teachers and families with special education services, with media services, and of course with mental health. And during the governor's condition of the state address, we heard that she really felt that mental health was a challenge with regard to the tragedy in Perry. So really thought that mental health was something we needed to fix in this state, and then proceeded to introduce a bill that guts mental health for most of rural Iowa. So never one to avoid irony, our governor. And so, not a fan. The AEA bill, she released it on Wednesday after her condition of the state. And before that, she posted about 130 jobs on the State of Iowa website and told the AEAs they should expect to have about 130 jobs taken away from them. She also, her director of education also sent an email to all superintendents saying by April 30th, you must tell us what you want to do to adhere to this new legislation. Legislation that had not been introduced, seen, considered, or voted on. Now, this is a pretty engaged room, and I'm pretty sure you know that the number of branches of government isn't one. And so we're going to go ahead and take care of that AEA bill, Governor Reynolds. Why don't you just hold your fire for a few minutes? So not the only ones. We're not the only ones who didn't like it. Thousands and thousands of Iowans didn't like it. And, we know we get the emails all the time from folks, and they're really meaningful and powerful, always. But sometimes they're click the button and tell me you oppose this bill, which is perfectly appropriate. With the AEA emails, that was not the case. Each and every one was somebody who needs these services, uses these services, gets better, lives are better because of these services. And one of the women who wrote me is a woman named Kate Fairfax from Des Moines. And she wrote me and said, my daughter Audrey was born with cerebral palsy, and she's a kindergartner. In kindergarten, she has been given amazing resources through the AEA. She's had services since she was born, and she's received wonderful services, including a stander, so that in the classroom, she can engage and participate in what everybody else is doing. And the AEAs are trying to find one that fits for her. And of course, they have an entire, storage area of tools that these kids can use, and they've come 3 times to try to help her find one that fits, and they finally found one. The AEAs worked with her every day to get Audrey what she needed. Kate said to me, if a private company was doing this, which of course is what the governor wants, I would get a one-size-fits-all from a company, it'd be shipped to me from out of state, and I'd never have an option. These are the services times 1,000,000 that kids are getting all across the state. And after the governor already got it, really sent a lot of public money to private schools, and was really hurting rural Iowa, this is going to do the same. So Republicans didn't like it, Democrats obviously don't like it, and so she's back at the drawing board. Then she put out a press release, oh my gosh, everything's so great, I've met with the Republican leadership, we got a good plan. Forgot to mention meeting with the AEAs, which she really didn't do for a long time. And then she met with them, everything was great. Then she wrote an open letter to Iowa families and was basically like, I'm so thankful for your feedback, we're basically gonna keep it the same. So that's not what she said, but that's what she meant. And so we're waiting for this miraculous amendment that's gonna come forward. And Senator Jochum can talk more about the value of AEAs personally than I ever could, but what I can tell you is this. If this bill or this amendment coming forward cuts mental health, special ed, or media services to Iowa kids, if it makes it impossible for kids in rural or urban Iowa to learn better and have an equal chance at a great education, Democrats will say, hell no. And we will fight like hell along with you. So we wait and see. We're hearing it comes out Monday. We're hearing they want to debate it on the floor Thursday. What's the rush? Great question. So the next question I get a lot is, how are those school vouchers working? I'm glad you asked. They're working great if you were already in private school. They're working great. So about $128 million has been spent on private school kids, of your dollars, by the way. And let's not forget that the richest family in Des Moines can have sat down at the kitchen table and decided that they could afford to send their kid to private school. And Governor Reynolds and the Republicans said, actually, why don't you not worry about that? People in Ames will pay for it. And you'll get to keep your money and go buy a beach house or go to Disney or whatever it is that you do, because don't forget, 2/3 of the people who used a school voucher this year were already in private school. So, and then we called the Department of Education and said, hey, this is correct, right? No, that's not true. There are many other factors. And I said, like what? And they said, there are many other factors. So 2/3 of the kids who are using vouchers were already in private school. And don't forget that money comes from public schools. It could go to public schools, it's going to private schools. So how are the vouchers working? Not great, but I'm getting to give you some good news. Everybody hates them. Iowans hate them in rural communities, they hate them in urban communities and suburban communities. This is a really big fight, and Republicans have way overplayed their hand here, and they're gonna pay for it in about 283 days. Every morning my alarm clock goes off, and the first thing I see is the number of days until election day, 283 today. And then every morning as part of my routine, I take my blood pressure. I think maybe I shouldn't do that in that order. It doesn't go great. Vouchers are not working great unless you're rich and already in private school. So I feel like they have enough, so we can move on. What is the latest attack on our LGBTQ plus brothers and sisters? I mean, get in line, 6 to 13 proposals out there, depending on how you look at them. But 2 I want to bring to your attention. One has a subcommittee on Wednesday at noon in the House, and it is 2082, and it is a bill that would open up Iowa's civil rights code and remove rights from Iowans, kind of seems to be what they like to do, remove rights from Iowans who have, because of gender identity. So a mom has a daughter who is trans. If this bill passes, that mom could get kicked out of her apartment, be homeless, right? Plus all the other problems. So removing civil rights protections is a pretty big deal. And Representative Jeff Shipley has decided that we're going to do that, and we're going to put gender dysphoria as a disability in Iowa code. Because again, these Republicans who are not doctors are very good at playing doctor. And so they want to do that, which would cause all kinds of problems for the business community. So I've been talking to the business community for 3 years about when it's time to stand up, and it's 3 years ago is when it was time. Stand up and make your voices heard. If you work for a corporation, if you work for a company, have them reach out and say, this is bad for workforce, this is bad for business. Everyone in this room knows it's bad for humanity. But the Republicans need to hear from business that it's bad for business. It is too, so make sure you reach out to them and let them know they should stand tall. After that bill, the subcommittee next is one that works with religious freedom. And sounds great, sounds amazing. What it really is it's a bill to really take away a lot of the things that we hold dear. I can't even go into what RFRA would do, but that's another one that the business community has told me is a line in the sand. Representative, if they introduce a bill to open the Civil Rights Code or address the Religious Freedom Restoration Act, we will act. I sat down with the business lobby and I said, I have great news for you. The bill's out, here's how you register no. And so I'm waiting, but we'll see. So we need to reach out to our LGBTQ brothers and sisters, give them love, give them affection, tell them they belong here, they're needed here, and we're fighting like hell for them at the Capitol as well. Reproductive freedom, what's going on with that? Well, I have good news. Abortion is still safe and legal in the state of Iowa. We got called back for this special session. We all know how that went. Then the court stepped in and said, wait a minute. Now, I have no optimism that the courts are going to say, you know what, everyone, you're right. But the longer it takes, the more women's lives will be saved. So we are going to continue to tell people that abortion is safe and legal in Iowa. Iowa House Democrats last year introduced an amendment to put abortion access and abortion rights in our Constitution. We've put a bill forward for 12-month postpartum care for Medicaid moms and a bill for over-the-counter birth control. We're trying to address it at every level, and somehow Republicans haven't taken up our bills. They're genius, so I don't know why. I will tell you that there is a bill, an amendment that many of you have heard about with regard to reproductive freedom that Republicans have done, a constitutional amendment. A lot of folks ask me, why don't we just put it on the ballot? We don't have ballot initiatives in Iowa, so we can't. The only way to get something to the voters is through a constitutional amendment that passes 2 general assemblies. And the second one would be now. They would need to pass it this year, and then it would be on the ballot in 2024. I would love that. I would love it to go to the voters. But I had someone in my office, and I asked them, why aren't you doing it? Why are you afraid of the voters? And they said, it will lose at the ballot box, and it will lose so big that the movement will be destroyed. Fantastic, let's put it on the ballot. So that's not coming forward because they know. I also need to pause here for a moment of personal privilege and say, if there is any bigger fighter for reproductive freedom in this state than Beth Weschel-Kerschel, I don't believe it. She is your champion. So that's all I'm going to say about reproductive freedom, because that woman over there is going to be fact-checking everything I say and knows more about the history and the opportunity than anyone. So we're really grateful for Beth for that and so many other things. How many bills out there at the legislature for clean water, fixing the environment, taking care of nitrates in the water? Zero. Zero from Republicans. We continue to put forward legislation, and there aren't any from them. They're very concerned about getting rid of topsoil requirements in neighborhoods and in homes because it's just so gosh darn expensive for those home builders. And so we'll be opposing those efforts as well. Yeah, we got to do a lot more, friends. I mean, this is unacceptable. So what are House Dems doing about it? Well, we're just sitting back and watching. No, not at all. House Dems have been doing a lot of work over the past 2 years to ensure that we're listening to Iowans and putting people over politics. We did some research where we found out that Iowans hate Democrats. And Iowans hate Republicans. They hate politics. They're sick and tired of it. They want us to get something done. I think I could knock every door and say, can you believe the crazy stuff that the Republicans are putting forward? And I would think everybody would be like, oh my gosh, vote Democrat. They're not all thinking like us. They're not all as clued in as we are. So if I knocked on the door and said that, the door would slam in my face. We need to talk to them about the issues that they care about. Iowa House Democrats have put forth 4, and we're doing another 12 bills this year under one of those. So just quickly, we're going to defend reproductive freedom every chance we get. We're going to defend public education and want to fully fund it. We're going to legalize marijuana for adult use and finally stop competing with the states around us and make safe product available in Iowa. And we're going to lower costs for Iowa families. And that includes affordable housing, childcare, all the issues that Iowans tell us they want. All 4 of those things are popular with more than 50% of Iowans. Not urban Iowans, not Democrats, Iowans. Looking at no party, everyone. So we're working to reach out to them regularly. My sister-in-law and I said to me, aren't you sick of saying people over politics? And I said, I don't know, have you ever heard of this phrase called Make America Great Again? We got to keep talking about it. So we believe strongly in this messaging and this framework, and we continue to talk about it. What can I do right now to fix things? That's what folks want to know. Please don't take a loss on the board, on the voting board, as a loss for the movement. It is a temporary setback that we're going to use to hold Republicans accountable. During the special session, Representative Wesley worked with our team to ensure that we were holding Republicans accountable on abortion. I thought for sure my targeted races would all vote with us because this issue is so unpopular in the areas where they live. We had an amendment to say if you're 12 or under, certainly no one wants you to be forced to carry a pregnancy to term. Every one of our targeted races and every Republican but one voted no. So I could write those ads now. So we're ready to hold them accountable. So what you can do right now is reach out to your representative, reach out to your senator, work on letters to the editor, all the things you always do. Just because it hasn't necessarily gotten us there yet doesn't mean it's not going to get closer to where we need to be. So attend subcommittee meetings, go online. We love to look at bills that have all no's and say to them, why are you going against what Iowans want, right? So make your voices heard in whatever way is most comfortable for you and continue giving up the fight. How the hell do you do this job? That is the question I get a lot. Look, I mean, it's the end of week 3, so far that's 3 months up at the Capitol, and it feels like. And here's how I do it, because I know this is a purple state. I know that not based on data, or not based on my heart, not based on my gut. I know it based on data. Since 2016, 92,577 Democrats have stopped voting. 92,577. 283 is the first number I think of every morning, or 282 or 281. Second one is 92,577. If I woke up the day after Election Day and every Democrat had voted and this is where we were, friends, I'm quitting show business. But when I woke up on Election Day and they had all stayed home, that's depressing, but it's also opportunity. Because I would rather get those folks, those Democrats who are already with us, to vote than get 92,000 Republicans to turn into Democrats. They're out there. We are in purple state. 2 of our 4 congressional seats are being targeted by national folks. We are a purple state. So what we need to do is get people out to vote. People who are frustrated with politics, who feels like it won't work. They're out there with us. They're with us on the issues. We got to lead them to the polls, okay? And so that means help them get registered. That means give them a ride to the polls. That means remind them that their vote counts. I can't flip the House in 2024. But I can't flip it in 2026 like we want to if I don't make a lot of progress this year. Every race counts. We had 17 races decided by 1,500 votes or fewer last cycle. Imagine what our majority would look like. Imagine what this list I just gave you would look like if everyone had voted. So this is easy, my friends. This isn't needed to change hearts and minds. This is needing to get those hearts and minds to pick up and take the rest of their body to the voting booth. So we can do this with your help. So how the hell do we do this? Because you send us messages of encouragement. Because you see us and give us big hugs. Because you tell us, hang in there, thank you for fighting for us. And because I know that Democrats are out there and these issues are popular and they are wrong. They have gone too far. The pendulum is swinging and we are grabbing that pendulum and dragging it back to balance. So please stay engaged, have hope. Friends, We are going to surprise everyone in 2024 because Iowans are with us. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here.
It's sad when I have to speak after someone that's so good, but just for a few minutes. Our next speaker is Iowa Democratic Senate Leader Pam Jochum. She represents Dubuque. She was for 8 terms in the House and now 4 terms in the Senate. I think she recently announced that she was retiring, but she also announced that she had recruited her replacement to run for that seat, which I always like to hear as the auditor, that you're not just checking out and saying, okay. She comes to us from Dubuque, and just to something that Jennifer had said, I went to Dubuque for the first time, because I'm not originally from Iowa, a couple of years ago, and I saw so many billboards there for Illinois and marijuana. And I thought, why are we just leaving all this money on just out there? I was like, this is a farming state. Couldn't we be the leader in marijuana? And I had never thought about it before, but that's all it took, was just driving out there. I actually really like Dubuque. I'm like, that's a really nice town. And you have a great auditor, and they also have a brand new voting center, 25,000 square feet there at their county complex. So I'm a little bit jealous of Dubuque right now. But anyway, that's enough from me, except to say that, yes, please get out and vote. In Story County, I have made both the voter registration form and the absentee ballot request form for Story County residents is postage paid. I did that for the students, but I think it helps everybody. First day to request an absentee ballot for the primary is March 26th. The first day to request an absentee ballot for the general is August 27th. There's been a lot of fear mongering out there about absentee ballots. If you have any fears, please come to me, and if you live in another county, please talk to your auditor. If you're a legislator, we have a great, our legislative contact for the auditor's affiliate is Jennifer Garm. She's the Clayton County auditor. She's a wonderful auditor, and she can talk to you about any issue about elections or other things. So I'm just to all the legislators in the room about that. But that's enough for me. Welcome, Pam Jochum. Thank you.
Hello, Story County Democrats. You know, I could just say ditto and sit down because Jennifer said about everything that needs to be said. But let me say this. I actually, with Jennifer and I as floor leaders in the House and Senate now, this is the first time women have been the floor leaders in both chambers at the same time. And I also want to tell you that I am the first Democratic woman to actually serve as president of the Senate. And believe me, that was a tremendous honor, and gosh darn it, we need to do it again. We need a woman that's going to be the leader of the Senate and the House, in the Speaker's chair and the President's chair next time. Let's do it. So, my question to you, Story Democrats, are you fired up? Are you fired up? Are you ready to hit the streets to fight for freedom and opportunity and equality for every Iowan? The strength of our party rests here at the local level. I do mean that sincerely. And I know that firsthand as having been the chairwoman of the Dubuque County Democratic Party. This is where the rubber hits the road. We win or lose elections with the local party's strength. Candidates can only go so far. The rest of it is up to all of us as local party activists to turn that vote out. Jennifer has talked at great length about how important it is to turn those Democrats out. I can't echo that enough. And I want to give a big shout out to your county chair and to all of your party leaders for what they have done and what they are going to be doing in the coming months. You are truly the wind beneath every elected official's wings. We can't do this without all of you next to us. It can be pretty darn lonely if you're out there on the limb and you turn around and there's no one there. But you are. And that is why many of us get up every day and keep doing this. Jennifer mentioned that I had a little more I could add to the AEA issue, and I can. I had a daughter. She passed in 2018. She lived with me her whole life. And I always get a little emotional because she was the sunshine of my life. Sarah had severe intellectual disabilities. And I will be forever grateful to what the AEAs were able to offer to my daughter and my family for 20 years. For 20 years. And then to help her and our family with her transition once she graduated from high school at the age of 21. And I can assure you that in forums that Representative James and Eisenhart and I did last weekend, we did one just on the AEAs, and some of the most heart-wrenching stories from parents who are so worried that their kids are going to lose their services. And the AEAs not only work with children with special needs, it's also children with talented and gifted children, and everything in between. This governor is damn cruel toward children. Damn cruel. The last legislative session had to be the most cruel I have been through in my 32 years toward children. Last year, of course, it was going after LGBTQ kiddos and trans kids. And this year it's against children with a disability. Can you get any lower? Can you get any lower?
They'll try.
Well, guess what? This is a time to stand up, speak out, write the letters to the editor, burn the shoe leather, open that pocketbook up a little wider and a little more often, because this is our moment to start turning the tide in 2024, and we can't do it without you. There is no such thing as an off year in politics. Never was, never will be. And I want to tell you what, in Story County right now, as of January 1, there are, I wrote this down, 7,724 inactive Democrats. Now, we have about 5,900 in Dubuque County, so don't feel bad. But this flows into what Jennifer was talking about a little earlier, about the number of Democrats who have not been voting. Inactive Democrats are registered. They aren't plugged in. If they had voted, if just 1/3 of them had voted in the last cycle, we would have Axney, Mathis, Bohannon, Miller, Fitzgerald. They'd all be serving us right now. We would not have lost seats in the House and Senate. In the Senate, we lost some of our seats by 500 votes or less. That is how close it is. But we need Democrats to vote. And that's where the local parties come into play. It's up to you and the candidates for a message. So, I know that a lot of us have been frustrated and disappointed and sometimes a little angry. And we've all shed a few tears in the last couple cycles. I get it. I've been there. But I can tell you that the winds are changing. As Rita Hart and Jennifer and Rob Sand and I have traveled Iowa in the last 5 months, I personally have driven more than 16,000 miles in that time, visiting every little town and burb and what have you, and holding town hall meetings and listening sessions. And the one issue that comes up constantly is the vouchers. The vouchers, reproductive health, pipelines, and ticked off that the Republicans continue to undermine local control. Yeah. So those winds are beginning to change. It's time. It is time, my friends, to bring home a victory, to restore our freedom. Our freedom to make our own healthcare decisions, to choose what books to read, to be our authentic selves, to love who we love, to love who we love. And it is time. It is time to restore workers' rights so that workers can collectively bargain for better wages, benefits, safe working conditions, to protect our kids from working at dangerous jobs, to protect our kids from gun violence, to feed our hungry kids in the summertime, and to shine a very bright light on Big Ag's dirty water secrets. It is time to clean up Iowa's toxic waters and lakes. My friends, it is time for the extremist Republicans to go. What time is it? It's time for them to go. And to create a fair and balanced tax system is an absolute must. Let me talk a little bit about 2022 because Herman and I both serve on that committee in the Senate. In 2022, the Republicans passed a trickle-down tax bill. It gives 3,400 Iowans who earn more than $1 million a year a $1,300 a week tax cut. Now, if you have $40,000 of taxable income, zero. $60,000 a year taxable income, about $5.81 a week, 83 cents a day, not even enough to buy a cup of coffee. But what do those working middle-class Iowans get with that tax cut? Well, they get to pay higher tuition at our universities. They continue to have dirty water and all of the other things. We aren't addressing childcare, housing. That's what we get. So that those who earn the most among us can continue to get a big tax cut. But they're not done. Oh no. They're going to do more this year. And we have yet to see the bill. It's coming. Just keep in mind, a flat tax is not a fair tax. So let's call what it is. Trickle-down theory came from a drip. And many of us are still waiting for the drip to hit. And I'm not so sure we ever will see it. So we also know Republicans like to use fear to win their elections. And it is time to stand up to fear and deny them power. It is time for them to go. What time is it? Time for them to go. Last but not least, public money for public schools. We need to fully fund our public schools from early childhood through higher education. And let's thank the ISCA for joining ranks on a lawsuit and standing up against Reynolds' book ban law. And I know none of us fall for the argument, Kim Reynolds' argument, that somehow funding private, mostly religious-based schools is something about parental choice. Bull. It is not. It is private school choice. Private schools decide who they will enroll. Jennifer went through all kinds of information that just was released by the Department of Education on who is actually going to benefit and who has benefited from the governor's voucher system. What I know is between that bill, that law, and the AEA, if they pass what they are saying they're going to do, it will be the final nail in the coffin of rural schools in this state. And we all know that when those public schools go under, that town dies with it. This is simply wrong. It is wrong, and we have to fight like hell to stop this. So the price tag on it for just this year is $128 million. And we know by the third year, this is going to cost over $1 billion. Think about that. So we're going to do this $128 million to help 17,000 kiddos in private school at the expense of 484,000 children who are in our public school system. And that's what's going on. The last legislative session, my friends, was a wake-up call. It was a wake-up call for anyone who believes in democracy and freedom. I mentioned it earlier, it was the most cruel that I've been through toward children. I don't think Iowans want us to continue arguing about underwear and bathrooms. What they want us to argue about is how to lower tuition at our community colleges and our universities. They want us to invest in affordable housing and childcare. They want us to invest in brain health services. They want us to invest in maternal health. They want a paycheck that pays the bills with a little left over so they can go on a vacation and maybe be able to set aside some money for retirement and a rainy day. And they want government out of their private lives. You know, I've often said the Republicans are shrinking government just small enough to fit in our bedrooms. And the more they ban books, the more desirable the books become. I think every one of us remembers when we were in high school, books that were on the no-no list. It said you can't read that. What did we all do? We went out and bought the book. Well, the kiddos are doing it again today, too. Don't fool yourselves. Now, if you listened to Kim Reynolds a couple weeks ago on her condition of the state, you would absolutely think that Iowa was rainbows and lollipops and sunshine. But what she didn't tell you is some of these rankings. And I'm going to read these off. Here's a few of them that she failed to mention. Number 1. Iowa has the 4th highest number of people moving away, according to Atlas Van Lines. Scary thought, isn't it? Iowa's education system has fallen from number 3 to number 24 in the nation, according to KCCI-TV. Iowa has the 8th worst state economy in the nation, according to Forbes. Iowa is the 7th worst state for active physicians per capita, according to Baker's Hospital Review. Iowa is the 2nd worst state for the number of nursing home inspectors. Iowa is the worst state for active OB/GYNs per capita, according to the American College of Obstetrics and Gynecology. Iowa has lost 3,367 family farms since 2012, according to Iowa State University. And at 6 weeks, Iowa has one of the most restrictive abortion bans in the country. So here's the question. Story County Democrats, are you ready to burn the shoe leather, spread the truth, and give Iowans hope again? Are you ready to shine a light on the Republicans' lies and the lying liars who are telling them? Are you ready to put an end to political extremism that is stripping Iowans of their freedoms? We are the party. Our Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the Affordable Care Act, workers' rights, voting rights, human rights, the Americans with Disabilities Act. When Democrats have had power, we started the community college system in this state. I don't think a lot of Iowans realize that it was Democrats who did that in the 1960s. It was the Democrats who increased the minimum wage, and I floor managed that bill in 2007 in the Iowa House, and what Beth Wessel-Kershell was right along with me. I served with Beth in the House. That is the last time it was raised. That was the last time we raised the minimum wage. And it's a whopping $7.25 an hour yet today. We created the Iowa Public Information Board. We passed the Smoke-Free Air Act. We established the flood mitigation program that has saved thousands of communities across the state from the devastation of floodwaters. We have helped to invest money in communities across the state through the Vision Iowa program. It has improved the quality of life in cities and towns everywhere. And we were invested in early child education. In fact, we created it. And we put Iowa on the path to be the education leader of the nation. Christy Vilsack put the spotlight on literacy. And she traveled this state giving books to children and libraries across Iowa. President Joe Biden has invested $29 billion in 2,900 infrastructure projects in Iowa alone. We need to start singing that from the rooftops. We believe, Senate Democrats, House Democrats, we believe we can do better. And we can do better by doing a people over politics agenda. We will be guided by 3 values. It is freedom, accountability, and opportunity. And every bill that comes across our desk this session, we are going to ask 3 questions. Are we increasing opportunity for all Iowans? Are we protecting the freedom of all Iowans? And are we holding government, special interests, and big corporations accountable to the taxpayers of Iowa? We choose hope over fear. We choose unity over division. We choose democracy over authoritarianism. With your help, we're going to send Democrats to Washington, to the State House, to the courthouse, and to the White House. Let's do it.
Thank you to our speakers, that's very good. So I wanted to give you an update about your presidential preference card. Many of you have been asking me about it, and I know that you're all eagerly awaiting them. I do have an update that they have been mailed out, and you will hopefully be seeing them within the next week. There's still plenty of time to request one if you have not already. The forms are back there on that back table. You can just fill it out, leave the form, and we'll turn that in for you. You have until February 19th to request it, and you have until March 5th to send it back.
Don't forget your ladles and your crock pots. I will take them though. We always have a potluck on election day in the office, so that's pretty standard across Iowa. Thanks everyone for coming out tonight. I look forward to seeing you at many events during the year. And I hope you look forward to casting your ballots for all of the Democratic candidates on both June 4th and November 5th. Thank you.